The content of the show, Heading in the Right Direction, including discussions, graphics, and any other material you'll see or hear on Heading in the Right Direction, are for informational and educational purposes only. Heading in the Right Direction is not intended to be a substitute for professional help. Dr. Cohen is providing his general opinion on heading in the right direction based on his experience. Dr. Cohen is not your doctor and is not giving you professional advice. Dr. Cohen gives professional advice in private sessions to his patients. If you have a doctor, your doctor should be consulted with any questions you may have about the information you saw on Heading in the Right Direction. If you do not have a doctor, you should seek the services of a doctor and not rely on Heading in the Right Direction. Also, some of the information presented on Heading in the Right Direction is subject to legal protection and may not be used without the permission of Dr. Cohen.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sidney Cohen. I'm a psychologist in private practice in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm also a published author of several self-help books. And I'm now the host of a show that I am calling Heading in the Right Direction. This is the first time, I'll tell you, that I've ever been a host. I've been a guest on shows, different types, for many years now. This is the first time I'm hosting, so a little bit nervous, but I'm pretty revved for this. Okay, today's first show is going to be on the subject of weight loss. Now, I mentioned that I've written a couple of books. I'd like to just show you the books. This first one is the book I'm going to be talking about today mainly, and that's, as you can see, called Inner Blocks to Losing Weight: Why You Lose the Battle More Than the Weight. And again, that's the one I'll talk about today. Just so to mention, the other book I've written is called Your Self-Sabotaging Inner Bully, Standing Up to It Once and For All. This book gets at self-sabotage in general in different contexts, and maybe in another show I would like to get to that. But for this topic today, weight loss, what I'm going to address, and I'll get into detail in a moment, is the tendency for many people, certainly, who try to lose weight, to sabotage themselves along the way and end up regaining lost weight. So these are the two books. First thing I want to start mentioning about, though, is something I call the weight loss industry. And what I'm referring to there is the multi-billion-dollar, quote, industry of all the diet and exercise programs that have proliferated, that we're bombarded with, ads all over the place, print ads, TV ads, media ads of different places. And of course, these ads are mainly portraying, quote, successes. So we've all seen these ads. Got typically a split screen where one side of the screen you have somebody where they were, 3 months ago, 3 years ago, and of course looking pretty overweight, if not obese. And there's the other side, the other panel, and there they are. Lost 30 pounds, 78 pounds, 50 pounds, whatever it is, clearly portraying what appears to be success. And it certainly looks very impressive. The thing is, and why I make a point about addressing the weight loss industry, is there are three things I think it's very important to keep in mind when you see these ads and it appears, again, it's looking great. The odds are you're going to, chances are, achieve the same results. But there's three things that need to be kept in mind here. First of all, it's generally understood that the estimate for people who actually regain their lost weight is 90%. That's the estimate. It's the kind of generally understood figure. Therefore, meaning that what you're seeing in the ad is pretty much the 10%. What you're not seeing, and of course, what diet or exercise program is going to be letting you know, it could be as much as 90% chance you're not going to get this result or you're not going to sustain it. So that's one thing that needs to be kept in mind, taken with a little bit of a grain of salt, to say the least, what you see in these kinds of ads. Second thing, to my knowledge, there is no study, no scientific, well-controlled study that makes it clear, conclusive, unequivocal that one particular diet or exercise program is definitely better than any others. To my knowledge, that type of study doesn't exist. There's sort of a gray area there, though. One exception. Particular program, it's a very well-known program, I'm not going to name it. There was a study that compared that program to several others that are also well-known programs. The study's finding was that that particular program achieved approximately 25% better results than the other programs, which sounds Pretty impressive for that particular program, relatively speaking. Well, if you read a little closer, what you see is that the sponsor for that study, guess what? It was the program that actually did better. Clearly making the results biased. Clearly making it, again, more reason to take it with a grain of salt. But there's one more thing I think about the ads and the proliferation that's out there. It's the proverbial fine print. Now, I don't know about anyone who's ever noticed this. I notice consistently in almost every ad you'll see. If you look at the bottom of the screen or maybe in the top corner of the screen or ad, there's certain words you're virtually guaranteed to see, like results not typical, like individual results may vary, in the fine print. Well, what that says to me is, in the fine print is the reality that the likelihood of you achieving the results that what's portrayed with the people who are actually there, present, or at least the photos of them, likely paid spokespeople as they are, those results are not typical. The fine print basically suggests you are more likely to end up in the 90%. Now, you might think where I could go with this is there's something almost scandalous about the weight loss industry. Absolutely not what I'm saying at all. Because in order to achieve successes with diet and exercise programs, there are a couple of things that those programs, in a sense, are up against. For example, I'll start with something that doesn't occur very often, but can be a factor sometimes. And that's, for example, people have a medical problem, such as thyroid, and it affects their metabolism, and they're kind of behind the eight ball because they have a thyroid problem. Makes it tougher to lose weight. Then there's issues sometimes people are on certain medications and there are side effects. And those side effects can be weight gain. So sometimes that's an issue. A bigger issue, though, I think overall is self-discipline. It's very difficult to maintain self-discipline. You know it, I know it, we all know it. So a big part of what these programs are, of course, trying to gear to is to give you guidelines, to give you a structure to get more self-discipline. Well, as the group, the Essex, sang many years ago, easier said than done. And I do not intend to make this a musical show, as you can tell from that voice, but seriously, it is a lot easier said than done. And anyone who has struggled over years, many years, to try not just to lose weight, much less to sustain it, knows to maintain self-discipline, especially, for example, under stress. It really is a heck of a challenge. But the third thing that these programs, as I look at it, are up against is what my book's about, what the work I do with my patients about, what I give talks about, and that's these, what I call inner or psychological blocks. They're mainly subconscious, and I am going to get to a list of those blocks shortly. And I think right there, we'll take a break, and we'll be back shortly.
For independent living for seniors age 62 and over, People Inc. offers safe, maintenance-free apartments across Western New York. The affordable rent is income-based. For more information, call People Inc. Senior Living at 817-9090.
Looking for a cooking oil with a light flavor and reduced absorption so food preserves its natural flavor? One with a high smoke point for stir-frying, sautéing, grilling, and baking? Then choose all-natural Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil, imported from France. Grapes have been a key ingredient of the healthy Mediterranean diet for years. Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil is the chef's choice for high-heat cooking, grilling, stir-frying, sautéing, or even deep frying. And Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil is great for baking too, because its delicate taste does not overwhelm the flavor of cakes, cookies, and other favorite recipes. A key traditional ingredient of the Mediterranean, grapeseed oil is a rich source of vitamin E antioxidant and naturally gluten-free. Buy imported Pompeian 100% grapeseed oil today and find great recipes at Pompeian.com.
Wait, don't let this happen to you. At Jan Fence, we're family owned and operated for over 50 years, providing a wide choice of fencing. Why wait online at the big box store? Just call Jan Fence. Ask about our Easy Fence to Go products by Active Yards, the first truly do-it-yourself fence product.
At Jan Fence, we always do what we say. Come see us today.
Step into an extraordinary world that will excite your senses. Experience our delectable Mughlai cuisine and the magic of tandoori savoir-faire. Let our international award-winning team delight you with a taste of heaven. Enjoy our mouth-watering flavors and our unique flair for excellence. Savor the elegance of fine dining and catering. Shazam Restaurant. Indulge your taste buds.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sidney Cohen. I'm back. This is the show Heading in the Right Direction. Where I want to pick up before I discuss and spell out the inner psychological blocks that are, again, what can sabotage weight loss, a couple little side notes first, if I may. One thing I want to be sure to emphasize, my program, the Inner Blocks program, is not intended to replace programs that are out there. My program is not a diet and exercise program. It's a program where the goal, if people use the program, is to help the programs out there achieve better results, achieve the types of successes where it isn't just the 10%, that percentage can go higher and higher if using my Inner Blocks program with a preferred diet and exercise program allows you to be able to be more self-disciplined by addressing issues that may be blocking that. Another thing I just want to quickly mention, it's about food. What really is in life a more simple pleasure and comfort than food? You don't have to really make much effort. You don't have to be in a relationship. You don't have to have a job. If you're in a restaurant, the food is served to you. If you're home, you got a refrigerator, a cupboard. Food is right there. It's tasty. It's comforting. It's a pleasure. And part of the reason I emphasize that is because people who don't struggle with a weight loss problem can look at it and kind of almost the proverbial Nike commercial, just do it, just exercise, just eat better. Well, it's a heck of a lot, again, easier said than done to do that. And part of how I also recommend looking at it is you don't have to say drink alcohol. You don't have to use drugs. You don't have to smoke cigarettes. Different kinds, of course, of compulsive addictive behaviors, but you have to eat. And because of that fact of life, I tell people it's unquestionably a bigger challenge to lose weight and sustain it than it is with any of those other kind of addictive compulsive behaviors, because you don't have to do those. And I always emphasize that to my patients and in general. One more thing I'll mention, then I'll get to the blocks. This may be obvious in a way, but I want to emphasize the upsides of losing weight. This may be obvious, to put it out there. Certainly one upside, of course, is better self-esteem. You feel better, you look better. Who doesn't enjoy that feeling? So certainly one benefit. Second benefit, certainly good for your health, for your stamina. Again, we know that, just want to add that in. But the third thing, a little bit more subtle, is that if you maintain the self-discipline and really get to the goal that you want to get to me, that's an act of self-respect. It is certainly self-control, it's certainly self-esteem, but I add the piece self-respect. You can really respect yourself. And that's really good also for self-confidence. And I think the self-respect and self-confident pieces are important aspects of the success that hopefully you'll achieve, whether you use my program and a good diet and exercise program. Okay, time to get to the blocks. There are basically 5 blocks. Before I mention them, though, just one quick preface. Not everyone has all these blocks. Some people may have just one, some people may have a few. The key as I go through this is to be totally honest with yourself. If this resonates, if any of these resonate or touch a chord, it means the odds are you are dealing with this particular block. And again, it can be multiple blocks. So, the first one I call addiction to self-rebellion. What I basically mean by that is, let's start with the word rebellion. Obviously, you know the word rebellion. But I want to use a definition of rebellion that is the definition I use in my work. I'm I'm going to define rebellion as doing the opposite of what's in your best interest to do. Okay. In the context of attempting to lose weight, that definition of rebellion has three manifestations: eating more than you should, eating things you shouldn't, and not exercising when you said you were going to. So each time you eat more than you should, eat something you shouldn't, or don't exercise when you said you were going to, it is being labeled or defined here as an act of self-rebellion. You are rebelling against you. And as a little aside, it's always kind of interesting to me. When I'm speaking with a patient and describe this term, addiction to self-rebellion, there's almost always this sort of little bit of a smile, kind of almost a mischievous laugh. And it's always striking to me because when I use the term rebellion, it's as though the person suddenly deep down inside realizes they're almost engaging in this little sort of mischievous act of rebellion by eating more than you should, things you shouldn't, or not exercising. Of course, the downside and the counterside to that is you're sabotaging yourself. All acts of rebellion are acts of self-sabotage, and that's the key to that particular block. And I believe everyone who struggles to lose weight and keep it off, that block is there for everyone. So that's the first one. Second one is anxiety. Underlying fears or anxieties that you may not be the least conscious of, but could kick in if you actually lose the weight and reach your goal. And I'll just give one or two quick examples of anxieties. For example, you're in a relationship and the relationship is not going well. Well, if you lose the weight, it's possible that what you could feel is more confident, more self-esteem, but what that could do is bring up anxiety about what to really do about the relationship. Maybe you're very anxious about ending a relationship, being back out there, trying to meet people. Whereas if you stay overweight, it's not against something conscious, but you really don't have to deal with that kind of underlying fear. That's just one example. Another one is people may have hang-ups or issues around their sexuality. Well, if you're staying overweight, you may not be feeling particularly sexual. Okay? Then you lose the weight. The comfort level you may have, the confidence level in wanting to be more sexual is likely to get stronger, but if you have issues around sex and sexuality, now that you've lost weight, those issues could come up, the anxiety around those issues can come up, and it can almost create an anxiety, if not almost a panic inside. I'm not ready to deal with these kinds of issues. Again, at least a subconscious thought, and slowly but surely, there you go. Start back eating a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, whatever it is, a lot of fatty foods, and the weight comes back up. That's what I mean by the anxiety block. Then there's a block I call the loyalty block. Briefly, in a nutshell, the idea there is if you come from a family growing up where food was the center of family life, food, eat, mange, and any other kind of guilt tripping that could go on, why aren't you finishing what you have on your plate? There's a sense deep down that if you are eating a lot, you're being loyal to a loving family system. Whereas if you cut down on eating, you may feel like, oh, I'm almost being disloyal to the system. Then there's the issue, another block of what's called usually emotional eating. To me, there's two types. You have the issue of emotional suppression, where basically what you're doing, without consciously realizing it, is suppressing negative emotions. You don't want to deal with, say, being angry, being hurt, being rejected. So you kind of squelch down, swallow down food to swallow or squelch down the emotions, the negative emotions. Another possibility, though, is I call it emotional deprivation, where there isn't a whole lot of fun and pleasure in your life, a whole lot of comfort. So you eat to sort of fill that void, at least a little bit of filling the void. So there's an emotional aspect to both sides. Last block comes up in a relationship situation in which there's a power struggle. Relationship power struggle, which can include one partner maybe significantly overweight and the other partner harps on it, badgers, criticizes. And the person who's overweight or obese then can counter that, because certainly and understandably they can get pretty aggravated by then making demands. No, I'll lose weight when you become more sociable, when you do more around the house. And although it's kind of a case of cutting your own nose to spite your face, those kind of power struggles really can become a block for the person trying to lose weight. Okay, and I think we'll take a break on that note.
Robots and fat cats rule our fortunes. One woman
Hi.
will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration. Welcome to Rod's Steak and Seafood Grill in nearby Morristown, New Jersey. Bring your appetite and feed your passion.
Your credit score is yours, and at Experian Credit Expert, we want to help you really use it. With access to helpful Experian experts over the phone and online, we can help you use it to get a better idea of what info the banks have on you. Use it to get more choice of mortgages. Use it to make your money go further. Take the next step to improving your financial future with your free 30-day trial at experian.co.uk.
Here at Freppi's Tex-Mex, you can definitely taste the freshness in our food. You should definitely come to Freppi's because it's a great place. You can bring your family, very kid-friendly. All my servers are amazing, friendly people. Everyone here is just happy to serve, and I think it shows. The thing that sets us apart is the quality and freshness of our food. And I think once you try it, you'd be coming back. I'm Joe DeSario, co-owner of Freppi's Tex-Mex in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Here, we have an attractive orange and a distinguished apple. The two similar, but opposites. In theory, a wingman is needed, or perhaps a wing lemon. A friend to the orange and an acquaintance to the apple, the lemon brings the two opposites together. See, with a little fresh thinking, the universe can be surprisingly smooth.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Fitzpatrick's. Deli dine for breakfast and lunch. And at night, gourmet dine for dinner with entrees and specialty sandwiches including certified black Angus cuts of beef and wild-caught seafood, plus catering options for specialty events. Since 1989, Fitzpatrick's.
Hi, Dr. Sidney Cohen back again. My show again is called Heading in the Right Direction. And before I proceed, I just want to be sure to mention that I am going to be available for emails to be sent in if you have any questions, anything you'd like to address or comment on about the show. The email address to reach me is Dr. Sidney J. Cohen at radiovisionnetwork.com. So feel free to send in an email or two if you'd like. But speaking of emails, a couple have come in today. And it's interesting. There's one particular question that's come up a couple of times that is a perfectly logical question, which basically is, hey, Dr. Cohen, all well and good, all these blocks, they sound like they're important to look at, but what the heck do I do about them? Well, glad they asked. Because in the couple minutes I still have today, I'm going to give you an example of something that I do recommend for addressing the blocks. And the one I'll mainly focus on is going to be that first one, the addictive self-rebellion block. If there's time, I'll give a quick thought or two on the anxiety block. Now, as far as dealing with the self-rebellion. Again, eating more than you should, eating things you shouldn't, or not exercising when you said you're going to. I want to especially focus on the first two, the eating more than you should and or things you shouldn't. What I recommend as a little strategy to try to get a handle on that rebellious behavior is something I call the use of the symbolic object. And what I mean by that is this. You choose some kind of object. It's an object that could symbolize something I'd mentioned I call the inner bully, the part of you inside that is all about self-sabotage. That's the metaphor, again, I use the inner bully. Well, one symbolic object you could use is go to a store, it could even be a little toy store, and find it could be a little trinket or a little object. It could be a figure that looks kind of a little gremlin or a little demon, something that represents for you a symbol of this self-sabotaging inner bully piece. Okay? That's one possibility. The other possibility is to use an object that's much more positive, something that gives you a more positive, encouraging, inspiring feeling. So whatever that object could be, and by the way, the object needs to be small because, as you'll see in a moment, it's something you're going to keep either in your hand, in your pocket. You want it to be unobtrusive, especially if you're out with other people. So the positive object, some people I work with choose something, if they're, say, spiritual or religious, it could be a positive symbol of something God or spiritual related, but it certainly does not have to be something religious or spiritual unless that's something you're comfortable with. Could be a little picture, for example, of a beautiful setting being in a lake. But here's the idea. Whichever side of the symbolic object coin you choose, what you do is before you eat anything, before you take a spoon or fork or with your hand and bring any food up to your mouth, and this really takes practice, is you go to your symbolic object. You either hold it in your hand, keep it rested somewhere where you have contact with it, and that object is what you're going to use as your symbol to remind yourself, essentially, don't rebel. Do not give in to the rebellion. Do not give in to the inner bully, because then I'll be giving in to self-sabotage. Now, obviously, you don't want to say all those words. The goal is for the object to basically become the summary of all of those words. So you hold on to the object, and you hold on for, say, a good even 10, 15 seconds, and your goal is for that object, negative or positive object, to make you become more aware and more conscious that you really want to make sure now to eat only what you should and no more than you should. So you don't give in to the rebellion. You don't sabotage yourself at that particular meal or snack. And you begin, if you practice this, again, it does take a lot of practice, because your inner bully is basically going to be in there saying, you're not using any symbolic object. I'm not going to let you take this kind of approach, because it knows it could really help. And that's the inner bully's job, is to sabotage what could help. So that's a way to deal with the addiction to self-rebellion block. Quick thought on dealing with the anxiety block. The anxiety block, to address it, you really have to be totally honest with yourself. I mentioned a couple of examples of the underlying anxieties, about underlying relationship anxieties, being unattached, feeling lonely, and the kind of anxiety around that you don't want to have to deal with. Anxieties, again, around sexuality. Anxieties around making major life transitions. If you have those underlying anxieties and you've allowed your feeling overweight and not liking how you look and your self-esteem's down to keep you from addressing those issues, you have to be honest with yourself. Are those fears there? If they are, it's a big step to acknowledge they're there. As to what to do about them, there's some books you can read about anxiety management. That could be a point, though, where you go get some counseling, you go get some therapy to address those anxieties and what may be some of the other blocks. And the only other thing I'll mention in terms of addressing blocks, again, the relationship power struggle block. Well, if that's an ongoing power struggle, then I would say, as a couple, what you need to do, again, it's like with the anxieties. Sit down, acknowledge to each other, we're really caught up in this kind of power struggle stuff. And all it's doing is creating cracks in the foundation of our relationship, and we're ending up feeling some really bad feelings inside. Neglected, unspecial, disrespected. Again, face it, be honest, and if you think it's a good idea, and certainly in enough instances I will, get some counseling. In this case, as a couple, to address the power struggles where one partner is sabotaging themselves with weight loss. And that's pretty much it for today. I hope you found this helpful, and at this point I will sign off and say I will be back with the show heading in the right direction. There'll be some other topics. Thanks very much for tuning in today, and take care.